We may be able to defeat them, but we do not know whose side they will take.
I've heard stories about the Ash people, the most dangerous tribe.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The newest chapter in the Pandora Saga emerges as something both familiar and radically new. The Sully family, once part of the peaceful Na'vi world, now face consequences of what has come before: loss, change, and the haunting echo of violence. 1 year after the events that reshaped their lives, the story picks up in a darker place. Grief has settled in, uncertainty lingers, and the world they believed they knew is shifting under their feet. The title itself suggests what this film will explore: fire and ash, destruction and aftermath, anger, and the toll that follows. The familiar fight for Pandora continues, but it is enriched by a deeper motive: the cost of that fight, the weight of choices, the legacy we leave behind. From the earliest footage revealed to insiders, new tribes emerge on Pandora. We encounter the Wind Traders, a nomadic Na'vi clan that moves across the skies in magnificent organic ships, gliding over unseen territories. Their presence adds breadth to the world, suggesting that our understanding of Pandora is still very limited. They travel through the air, not by land or sea, and their culture seems anchored in freedom, movement, and a broader vision of the world. Then there are the Ash people. They stand as a stark contrast, hardened, scarred, and burdened by tragedy. Their leader Varang rises from the ashes of what they lost, and their faces marked by ash and fire tell a story of suffering and defiance. They question the foundational Na'vi belief in Iwa. They reject what they believe failed them, and they strike back. This internal conflict among the Na'vi adds a layer of moral complexity previously unseen in the series. No longer is the threat purely external, it now comes from within. The trailer reveals stunning visuals of Pandora under siege, aerial assaults, fires burning under a dark sky, and the Sully family preparing for battle. Jake and Natur stand not as carefree saviors but as guardians, haunted by what has happened and what must happen. The film doesn't shy away from the emotional fallout. The family is fractured, mourning is real, and the fight is personal. Children, once playful and free under the sky of Pandora, are now older, scarred, matured by loss. The war against human invaders is still there, but the greater threat may be the collapse of trust, the fracture of unity, and the rise of factions among the Na'vi themselves. It's not just water versus earth, or humans versus Na'vi anymore. Ideology, identity, and the price of survival. In interviews, the director emphasizes that this is the middle of an epic 5-film journey. The third film is meant to be a pivot. It is the point at which everything changes. For Jake and Natri, for their children, for the world of Pandora. It is described as the big turning point. For the audience, it means things will not be as safe, as open-ended, as hopeful as before. There is the hint of more darkness, more introspection, more consequences. It asks the question: when you've saved your world once, what happens when you have to save it again? And what if you must rebuild in the aftermath? Fire burns, ash remains, and then you must decide what happens next. The production itself has barely kept pace with ambition. The film has been delayed repeatedly, reflecting both the scale of the vision and the technical demands of bringing Pandora to life again. Visual effects teams have pushed boundaries. New environments are built in full, CGI blended with motion capture. And new tribes need new languages, new cultures, new flora and fauna. The ambition is huge, and each reveal, concept art, trailer, clip, interview, snippet, underscores just how much is riding on this installment. The mythology expands, the world broadens, and the stakes rise. For a franchise that has already set the benchmark for immersive cinema, the question is, will this chapter transcend even its own high bar? Casting brings back familiar voices, but also new additions, whose roles hint at significant shifts. Jake, Sully, and Natori remain central, but children like Loak and Saria appear in greater focus, the next generation stepping into conflict. Varang, played by a new face, stands not just as a villain, but as a tragic figure shaped by trauma. The human side remains present as well. The human-Na'vi conflict is still alive. But now, alliances shift, old enemies return, and new allegiances form. The presence of the Wind Traders suggests that not all Na'vi will stand together. Film seems primed to explore fracture as much as unity. Concept art, released at fan events, shows landscapes we've not seen before. Volcanic regions, lit by molten rock, ash cloud skies, flying ships, with sails that resemble jellyfish, creatures that glide through the air in ways that defy expectation. One remarkable moment shows a giant skyship being propelled by living creatures that combine wings and fins, sailing across a crimson sky. Another shows a Na'vi warrior standing atop a molten rock spire, her silhouette against a burning horizon, symbolizing both the fury of the Ash people and the resilience of those who fight them. The aesthetics strike a balance between natural wonder and a burning rebellion. Pandora is as beautiful as ever, but haunted by shadows, by fire, and by the memory of what was lost. Behind the scenes, the director speaks of fire as representing hatred, violence, anger, ash as representing grief, loss, and the aftermath of those emotions. The cycle of conflict becomes literal. The flames burn, the ash remains. New hatred rises from old wounds. In this way, the title works on multiple levels: narrative, thematic, symbolic. Loss begets anger, anger begets war, war begets ash. And from the ash, the question of rebuilding emerges. The Sully family, having lost one of their own, must now confront that cycle, and possibly break it. That deeper theme suggests that this will not be simply a spectacle, but a story about healing, redefinition, and the courage to rebuild when everything seems broken. The trailer doesn't hide that the Sully family's loss is at its core. The death of Nedium, pertained in earlier scenes, has left a wound that is not healed. Neteri's strength is tested, Jake's leadership is challenged, and their children must find meaning in a world that holds both wonder and terror. The dynamic shifts, protecting the family, protecting the world, and protecting their own identity as Na'vi and as guardians. The Oxykai clan, Metkina clan, all the clans are impacted. The Wind Traders add new dynamics. The Ash people bring a new threat, and then there are the humans, still the invader, still the reminder of external threat. The film promises to weave all these threads into a tapestry of conflict and redemption. A recurring motif is flight and freedom. The sky, once a sign of freedom for the Na'vi, is now also a domain of new power struggles. Floating ships, giant creatures, aerial battles. The Wind Traders carve their path across the skies, while Ash people attempt to dominate by fire and fear. Every shot of Pandora includes both wonder and peril. Denizens of the sea, the sky, the land, the fire. This four-element interplay suggests that the world is bigger than we thought, and the Na'vi's place in it is more precarious than ever. Their traditions, their reverence for Iwa, their bond with nature, all of it is challenged. In interviews, the director affirmed that the film's runtime will surpass its predecessor, suggesting a dense narrative, multiple plot threads, and an immersive experience that asks patience and emotional investment. The previous film clocked in at over 3 hours. This one will stretch beyond, inviting viewers into a full-scale saga rather than a simple, standalone adventure. The implication is clear: this is cinema meant for the big screen, for immersion, for going deep. It is not a background movie. It demands attention, reflection, and feeling. The marketing rollout has been methodical. Concept art revealed at major fan conventions, footage shown to theater owners early, teaser clips inserted into re-released versions of earlier films, strategic use of social media to build intrigue. A notable tactic was inserting early exclusive scenes into a re-release of the previous installment in theaters, giving audiences glimpses of what's to come. The approach underscores how much the studio is betting on this film, not just as a blockbuster, but as an event. It's a global story, a return to Pandora, yes, but also an escalation. Higher stakes, broader conflict, more personal danger. The human factor continues to matter. The RDA Resources Development Administration returns, but their role shifts. No longer just the invading force, but a catalyst for chaos that allows internal conflicts among the Na'vi to erupt. Humans bring weapons, technology, and scars, but the Ash people bring their own weapons, born of internal devastation. Quaritch returns, memory copied, still driven by vengeance. The intertwining of human and Na'vi antagonists gives the film layers: external threat, internal betrayal, cultural breakdown, tribal war. The war on Pandora has evolved. It is no longer just external colonization, but civil war, ideological war, survival war. One of the most striking revelations is the aerial dimension to the conflict. The Wind Traders traverse the skies in massive ships with translucent sails, drawn by Leviathan-like creatures whose wings glow. These ships appear in sweeping vistas, gliding through volcanic ash clouds, diving into sea mists, rising above luminous forests. Battle sequences show them caught in flame storms, being attacked by Na'vi on fire skiffs, falling into oceanic depths. The film promises to merge the realms of land, sea, air, and fire into one sweeping landscape of motion and danger. Pandora feels limitless again. Another big theme is legacy. The Sully children Spider, Loak, Sudi, Tuktairi are no longer side characters. Their arcs matter. They represent the next generation, the heirs to what Jake and Notori fought for. They are aware, they are impacted, they are active. Their grief over what happened, their anger, their transformation into fighters, all of it carries weight. The film seems to ask, will the next generation rebuild a world in peace, or will they wage the same wars anew? The familiar heroism is being challenged by fatigue, by trauma, by the possibility of repeating mistakes. Throughout, visual spectacle is used to underscore emotional depth. One scene glimpsed in the trailer shows a volcanic eruption mirrored by a breakdown in Jake's voice, a call for reconciliation. In another, children stare at the sky as flaming debris rains down. These aren't just action beats, they are metaphorical. Fire raining from the sky mirrors the burning of trust, the falling of innocence. The visual artistry uses color, movement, contrast to evoke feeling. Turquoise forests, molten reds, ash-gray skies. These extremes underscore the emotional extremes. The characters inhabit. The film's thematic arc appears to revolve around rebuilding in the face of loss. The Na'vi world has been battered, their harmony disrupted. The Ash people believe that Awa abandoned them. The Sully family know firsthand the cruelty of survival. The Wind Traders show a path of movement and escape. The question becomes, how do you repair a world when the foundational belief you build your life on is shaken? How do you lead when your community is fractured? How do you protect when your family is scarred? The film doesn't offer easy answers. It shows the cost of forging them in the lead-up to the release. Several news items emphasize the film's role in revitalizing theater attendance. With global cinema still recovering from streaming competition and pandemic setbacks, this installment is designed as an event to draw people back to theaters. To experience cinema in the immersive way it was meant to be, the director himself noted that this is a freight train of a film, intended to throw audiences into the world with no halfway measure. The stakes are not just narrative, they are industrial, cultural, cinematic. Pandora returns not just as a world to escape to, but as a world demanding to be witnessed. The music component also plays a central role. A new original song has been revealed, titled Dream as One, created by a major pop star and producers, whose personal experiences with fire and rebuilding echo the film's themes. The involvement of such artists indicates how the marketing intersects with emotional resonance. Fire and ash are not just narrative devices but real-world metaphors. The song underscores themes of unity, healing, rebuilding from loss. The film's tone, more than spectacle, turning it into an emotional offering for audiences. For fans of the franchise, this film seems to balance the nostalgia of the original with the ambition of a new era. The familiar Na'vi world remains, yet it expands. Where once the battle was simple humans versus Na'vi, now it is much more layered. Na'vi versus Na'vi. Na'vi versus human. Ideology versus belief. The environment itself becomes a character. Firestorms, rage, rivers boil, forests glow under torchlight. The skies darken with ash. The narrative economy grows. Characters have more at stake. Settings are more extreme. Visuals more intense. It's less escapism and more immersion. It's less novelty and more consequence. At the heart of it, this chapter asks, what happens after victory? Many stories end with the war. 1. The hero triumphant. But what of the scars left behind? What of the children raised in the shadow of conflict? What of the people who believe their goddess did not save them? What of the ones who wage war in her name afterward? Pandora was never safe, but now its safety has been stripped from it. The Sully family must face that truth. They must fight not only to protect, but to heal. The Ash people must confront their anger. The Na'vi world must contemplate its future. The film offers no easy resolution, but promises a journey. For audiences, this means more than big-budget visuals. It means emotional stakes, character arcs that matter. A world that reflects our own dilemmas in an alien form. Fire, ash, rebirth, the cycle of creation and destruction. And amid the chaos, the possibility of hope. The teaser footage and trailers show not only explosions and battles, but tears, confrontation, pleas for unity. They show children watching the skies, warriors standing in ash, leaders asking if their gods are real. They show a fight for a new world, not just a fight for the old one. As the release date approaches, the anticipation intensifies. The marketing, the concept art, the early footage all suggest that this will be a defining moment for the franchise. Not just because it's the third film, but because it's the turning point. Pandora is evolving. The Sullys are evolving. We as an audience are evolving along with them. It's not the end, but a bridge to what comes next. More sequels are planned, more stories to tell. But this one stands alone as the moment where everything shifts. In conclusion, but without calling it an outro, this film invites us back to Pandora with new eyes. It wants us to feel the heat of the flames, the weight of the ash, the burden of survival, and the hope of rebuilding. It asks us to consider what we would save, what we would fight for, and what we would leave behind. It reminds us that even in worlds of wonder and alien beauty, conflict and consequence persist. The Na'vi may be blue, tall, connected to their planet, but their story in this film is strikingly human. It is about family and legacy, about war and peace, about what it costs to protect what you loved. And in the end it asks, when the fire burns out, what will you build from the ashes? Ashes.